Oh no, well, not
So,
go to.
so good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Fantastic to welcome you today. So we've obviously been through a very tough time, and we're all looking for new and exciting things to do online to keep ourselves occupied or entertained, whether that be personally, with friends, family, or for your businesses. And we're really grateful that you've joined us today. We are joined by Alex from Escape Live, who have developed a fantastic product for corporate team building packages and also thinking about the Christmas party. Myself and Alex had a chat and he's given me a demo of the system and I think it looks absolutely fab. I really hope that you'll enjoy the demo today too. So without further ado, over to you, Alex.
Cool, thank you, Daniel, and hello everybody. Hope our new normals are getting back to some sort of normality. And yeah, you know, it's been an absolutely crazy time for us here. I work for a company called Escape Live, and we're an escape game company. You know, we've got 5 escape venues across the UK, and another arm of the business that was really specialising in off-site team building events where we'd go into hotels, we go into conference spaces, you know, all of that sort of stuff, and run icebreakers, team building events, either sort of some of our standardized games or more to suit the needs of the clients on a more bespoke sort of basis. And that was all going pretty well up until March. And then obviously all of our venues got closed, all of our events got cancelled, and it was a pretty scary time. And it was, if I'm honest with you, sort of out of luck that we'd been sort of designing an online game behind the scenes, and as soon as that all happened, we sort of were like, okay, yeah, this online virtual team building game that we've been building is our beacon of hope, you know. And yes, we really sort of went for it to finalize the design, the puzzles, the concepts, got it built, got it developed, etc., and launched the game back in about April. And really we aimed it, you know, at our sort of family market, the sort of the B2C. It was a play at home type of game. And then once we launched it, I think, you know, we got some really great feedback, made a bit of a splash. And then effectively our sort of corporate clients started reaching out to us saying, hey, if, you know, our physical events have been cancelled, we're looking for a virtual alternative. You know, all of our staff need a little boost in terms of morale and help with their productivity and things like that. Can you guys help? And so we were sort of like, oh, we have got a game, but it's more sort of geared towards the B2C side of things. So we went away, spent about another month changing Rogue Agent and turning it into a more, you know, team building event that's suitable for groups, a multiplayer type of game where people can log in from different locations as part of one team and race against other teams. We brought on an operations team to facilitate these events, a series of hosts and games masters, and yeah, brought on a sort of made in a sort of admin panel, behind the scenes view, so we can see what every team is doing at any time and really sort of slicken the operation. Because when you're dealing with a 200 person virtual event with everyone playing at the same time, you don't want anything to go wrong, because it's not ideal, right? So yeah, made lots of changes to the game to suit it more to the corporate market. Launched that back in a sort of mid-June, and since then it's been doing really well. You know, we've been doing some really large events for some of our clients. And, you know, all over the world. I mean, on Friday last week, we did an event at 5 a.m. in Australia. It was obviously 5 p.m. their time. But, you know, that was great fun. And it's been sort of, yeah, going from strength to strength. So thank you, Daniel, for, you know, introducing me and allowing me to show this to you guys. And hopefully you think it's quite good. But yeah, without further ado, I'll share my screen with you and I can give you a bit of visibility on the game itself, and you guys can see what you think. So I hope you can all see that. This is the login page for Rogue Agents, okay? And by the way, if anyone's got any questions, if I'm moving through things a bit too quickly, whatever, I know this is a new concept. It was incredibly new to me 6 months ago. I didn't even know what Zoom was 6 months ago. And now I could tell you about MS Teams and I could tell you about Blue Jeans and all these things. So I get that, yeah, it's a very new concept. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't really prepared like a presentation, so to speak. I was just going to show you guys the game and explain how we run it. And hopefully that will give you a bit of an insight into why it's working quite well. But before I go into the really exciting stuff, the gameplay, I'll just very briefly touch on how we actually run the events on the video platform, okay? Because this can work for a group of 20, it can work for right up to a group of 300. But what would happen is, quite simply, like Daniel has done today, we would send to the event organizer within the organization we're running the event for, the Zoom link. And then that Zoom link, or MS Teams, or Blue Jeans, whatever video platform your organization is using, we would send you that link. You would then forward that to the rest of the delegation, the rest of the organization who are going to be taking part. And quite simply, as we have all done today, we would click that link and we would join a mass video conference, okay? You would be greeted by one of our hosts. Now we've really gone out and got some fantastic hosts. They're professionals, stand-up comedians, you know, compares. They're absolutely fab. We did a very large event yesterday, and it went really well. And the host for that was a chap called Kaz, who's, I shouldn't really pick favourites, but he's probably my favourite if I'm honest. But he's great. Some of you might know Kaz actually if you're from the Coventry, Warwickshire area. But he set up, Kaz Sanger, he set up the Coventry, Warwickshire Improv Comedy Society about 4 years ago. And since turned it into a bit of an institution in Coventry. Went on to organise about half of last year's comedy festival in Coventry, and performed in it as well, and really good. But he's a really good improv stand-up comedian, which works perfectly for hosting this type of event. I mean, if anyone's done any or seen any sort of stand-up comedy on Zoom, it works really, really well. So everybody would join. Let's say we've got 100 people taking part. They would all join that Zoom conference call, greeted by our host, who was in character. You know, if it's the rogue agent game that we're doing, they'll be as an agent, you know, sunglasses on, suited and booted, backdrop looks like maybe GCHQ or the inside of M's office from James Bond, and they're playing that sort of agent character, but they're quite a bad agent, you know, because that's what gives it the comedy factor. So, for example, Kaz was an agent; he's now the tech guy who's responsible for managing, you know, the Wi-Fi, turning it off and on again when it breaks. So he's very much like, agents, Kaz here reporting for duty, you know, and has lots of very funny jokes that get lots of people going. But because he and our other hosts are improv comedians at heart, really, really thrives on that audience participation. And so they quite like to maybe take the mickey out of your background, or if your camera isn't on, maybe you're a double agent, this sort of stuff. But the main aim with that sort of initial bit of hosting is to get everybody laughing, everybody pumped up, and obviously explain some of the do's and don'ts of the game. But that's a really important part for us. Adds a lot of entertainment value, sets us apart from other people that are doing something similar. And also, and I'm sure you guys can all imagine who this is, but there's always one or two people when doing a team building event that just like, I do not want to be here. You know, I'm not keen. I'm not excited. Don't want to do this. Daniel, why have you dragged me to this team building event? I don't want to do it. When we can get them laughing, right? The negative Nancy's, when we get them laughing, when we get them pumped up, they go, right, okay, I'm bought in. I'm up for this now. I'm excited. And we know that if we can get those, you know, those guys converted, then the whole group is up for it. And also then they're not going to, you know, bring down their team and be a negative influence on the rest of their team. So really, really important for us that we get everyone laughing with a really humorous start. But we do that last 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes if the host is really enjoying the limelight. And then what we do is we'll split the group into breakout rooms. Now, I know some of you are probably very, very well versed on what a breakout room is on Zoom, but for those that aren't, effectively, if we had 100 people on a mass conference call, within a couple of clicks, we can split that 100-person group into smaller groups of, say, 5 or 6 in their own little video call with just their team, okay? So that they can then communicate whilst they're playing the game as a team. So we can both pre-assign those teams, if that is the need of the client, you want specific teams, or we can randomize those teams if you want to mix everybody up and get them working with people they might never worked with before. Once we've split the whole group into their breakout rooms, we then introduce our games masters. Now, hopefully a few of you have played an escape room before or are familiar with what an escape room is. But typically when you're playing an escape game, a physical I've been locked in a room escape game, you will have a games master outside of the room who will provide clues to that team if they get stuck. We have something very similar. Obviously, we've got 5 venues. We've got a roster of about 80 games masters in our family. So we've sort of cherry picked the best ones to come over and help out on this project. But they're fantastic. So we split the group into the breakout rooms. The games masters then introduce themselves. Hi guys, I am Agent Alex. I'll be your operational support today on the MI5 dashboard. And what those games masters will do is provide the URL to the game, which is this URL up here that I've highlighted. And they will also provide the login code for the team to log in, which I've just copied and pasted into that text box there. Now, something worth mentioning here is that every single player will log into the game, okay, as part of that team. So if this is team 1's code, there'd be 5 players in team 1, all 5 players would log in using that code. All right. And if anyone's unclear as to what I'm talking about here, please do stop me. But pretty simple. So in terms of setting up the event, it's very straightforward. It's just a Zoom link, get the guys onto the Zoom call, and we manage the rest on that call in a very entertaining and simple way. And works really, really well. And that really is how we get the event started. I'll move into the gameplay now, but before I do, has anyone got any questions on how we run the events like that? All pretty clear.
Chat box is all clear, so it's all good, Alex.
No worries, cool.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So cool, the fun stuff. Rogue agents. So the storyline of the game is that an agent within the MI5 has gone rogue. Okay, they have been using their, the bad apple, bad agent, right? This is 006 has been using their intelligence, their contacts, their gadgets and gizmos to perform a series of heists across the world. Okay, this agent has been stealing priceless artwork, valuable artifacts from museums, and to grow their personal collections. So we need you and your team of newly recruited MI5 agents to identify who this agent could be, gather the evidence that will incriminate this agent, and then we need you to track them down. Okay, we need to know their address and their car registration in case they try and do a runner. So that's the story. I think we've got what it takes. Let's check it out. So once we join the game, it will automatically load up the introduction video. And apologies if the audio quality isn't that high. It's picking up through my microphone and then playing.
Well, these are slightly strange.
But yes, this is David Goodman. He is your MI5 handler.
My name is David.
Okay. This is all pre-recorded stuff that we've had done ourselves. But he sets the scene, okay? He explains the mission. And, if they didn't catch it the first time with the host. And really starts to layer in, I think, that quality. And because by this point we've got the players quite pumped up, whenever we see them, well, quite often whenever the players are at the stage, they're giddy. They're like, oh my God, this is like a real game. I feel like James Bond or something. So they get quite excitable in this introduction video. But I will skip to the end because A, I don't want to give you any unfair advantages, and B, it's a couple of minutes long. But yes, once that finishes, it automatically loads up the first puzzle, which is, as I say, about identifying, let's zoom out a little bit, there we go, about identifying this agent. We need to find out the city of the agent's primary school, city of secondary school, and city of university. Well, how do we do that? Well, if you notice on the side here, we've got these buttons, okay? And at the moment, the only button that is unlocked is files. The computer's locked, CCTV is locked. We will unlock those as we progress through the game. And then identity, which is the page we're currently on. That's where we need to put these answers in. And evidence, car reg, and address are also locked, which will unlock as we unlock each stage before it. So all we can do is head to this files button. If we click that, it loads up these files. And if we click into those, we can see that some of them have puzzles in them. Some of them you might need to pull bits of information from with a bit of comprehension. Some of them might be quite visual and have a variety of visual things going on. And quite commonly, and this is something we have got quite a lot in the game, is you might have the need for multiple players to do things simultaneously. So, for example, one person might be needing to shout out these different countries in the passport, and another might need to cross-reference those locations with the locations that these exhibits have gone missing from. So there's a lot of that kind of multiplayer element where you need more than one person to solve something to tick all of those team building boxes, which is obviously one of the main aims with this type of event. And yeah, I know probably, well, that's a good point. Actually, one of the things you're probably thinking is, Alex, how the hell do we read that? It's tiny. Well, don't worry. We've got this little view button up here. Click that and it opens it up in a much larger, higher definition. So you can have a good old peek at that. You can obviously zoom in even more. Alrighty, let me close that down. So that really is kind of the first part of the game. As I say, you do unlock other puzzles, other things as you progress through the game that test a variety of different aptitudes and skills. And you'll notice here that we do have a little clue button. If we click that, it loads up these clues. I'm a bit zoomed in from that last one. And as I say, it has these clues that we can get as well. Now, each of these clues will add 1 minute to the time. To the team's time. And I'm sure you're all thinking, hang on a sec, Alex, hang on. If you've got clues in the game, then what is the point of those games masters? I thought they were supposed to give the clues. Well, the games masters, they're more, they do provide clues, but it's more about timing, okay? And what I mean by that is I hope you've all noticed the timer in the corner over here and notice that it's counting upwards and not downward. And again, I hope there's a few escape room players out there. But for those that haven't done an escape room, typically you will have 60 minutes to escape from this room before something dreadful happens. You're locked in forever, or you're in a mine and the mine's going to collapse in 60 minutes, or whatever it is. We don't have that. We don't have that hard finish. And the reason that we don't have that hard finish is that when we were building this game, we were obviously speaking to a lot of our corporate friends and larger clients saying, you know, we're building this game. We'd love to know what would be your motivations if you were looking to book some kind of virtual team event. Why would you do that? And the most common answer really was as a morale booster. You know, my team are at home in a pandemic, in case you didn't notice, and then they're all a bit depressed, and I want to G them up a bit, get them happier, get the morale boosted. So we thought, okay, that's cool, and that's, you know, I've got the host and all these other things that do that. But one of the things we did was, let's ensure that every single team completes the mission. Let's ensure that every single team has that high five moment, that sense of satisfaction, that sense of achievement with their team. So we want every team to complete the mission. So therefore, it isn't a countdown timer, it's a count up timer, and it's therefore a race. Who can complete the mission first? In terms of that sort of jeopardy or that competitiveness. It's about who can do it the fastest. Everyone's going to do it, but who can do it the fastest. And that works really, really well. When teams complete the mission, they are elated. And, you know, again, to those that have done an escape room, you'll know this firsthand. But when you complete the mission, when you're solving the answers, solving the riddles and the clues, you get this, we did it, this pumped up feeling, right? You feel really good. And that's from a biological perspective, because your brain is releasing reward chemicals. It's releasing things like serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin, adrenaline, you know, endorphins. So you have this natural high. So we didn't want to take that away by having teams say, oh no, sorry, you failed. You didn't complete the mission. We want every team to have that sense of elation. Now that all sounds great. It works really well. It is great, but it presents us with a very big problem. And that problem is that we might have the winning team complete it in, say, I don't know, 52 minutes, and the losing team finish it in 1 hour and 20 minutes. And we've got, you know, 28 minutes between first and last place, which is a very, very long time. And the reason that's not good, having such a big difference between first and last, is that when teams complete the mission, okay, we see that they've completed the mission. The games master goes into their breakout room and says, hi guys, well done, you've done the mission. Well done, smashed it. You can now leave your breakout room and go back to that main conference where we all started, where the host is, and where any other teams might be that have already completed the mission, okay? So when they leave their breakout room, go back to that main space, they're pumped up, they're feeling good, they want to speak to the other teams, they want to see if they've won, they want to banter, etc., etc. So if those teams that have been in there, have been waiting there for 30 minutes for the final team to finish, that high, that elation, that pumped up feeling is going to have ebbed away. And they're going to go, oh my God, how much longer? Where's this team? Hurry up, come on. And they're getting bored, and we're killing the event, okay? So that's where our games masters come in. Their main aim is to ensure the gap between first and last is no more than about 10 minutes. so we can have a really powerful finish to the event. Okay, and how we do that is that we can see at what stage the sort of the winning team is at. We use them as a pace setter, and then give clues to the teams that are lagging behind somewhat to ensure there's about a 10-minute gap, and then moving through the game with a bit of an equal distance of about 10 minutes. Now, obviously, we don't spoon feed answers. You know, you don't have a sense of satisfaction if the games master answers the question for you, but we'll try and get you back in the right direction. So if you're doing this thing over here, we will say, hey guys, how about you have a look at the passport instead, you know, and get them back on the right track and give them a little nudge in that direction. And it works really, really well. And obviously then, once the game is everyone's back in the breakout room, back in the main space, our host will do a bit of a wash up, bit of a debrief, which will involve a bit of a highlight of some of the funny things that happened whilst the game was taking place. So our games masters are instructed to, if anyone does anything silly, does a silly thinking face, you know, the cat runs in front of the screen, whatever, get a screenshot, and we give that to our host, who will then use that to do a bit of a Mickey taking at the end, especially for the winning teams, because then what we'll do is an award ceremony. So in third place was blah blah blah, and when we're doing that, they're in third place, etc. We then obviously take the Mickey out of those winning teams, because the losing teams love the Mickey being taken out of the winning teams, and the winning teams don't care because they've won. So it's a win-win from our perspective, and that really, guys, is the entirety of the experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. And sorry, Dan, just one last thing. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, what does the behind the scenes look like? Well, if you'd like to have a look behind the curtain, this is our admin page. Okay. And we can just see here that this was our session, the PA forum. And we've only got one team in this session because I just set this up as a bit of a demo. If we had 50 teams, you'd see teams 1 right down to 50. We would see their code to log in case there was a technical difficulty and we needed to get the code to a player instantly. We can send it very quickly. We have these 4 columns here for the stages of the game. And what will happen is a little green tick will appear when a team has completed that stage. So again, we can see exactly what stage every team is at. We can also see the amount of time that has elapsed for each team. Something worth mentioning on that is that that timer will start when the team log in, or when the first player from that team log in. So you will often see a bit of a discrepancy between the teams in terms of their time, because they're all locked in at slightly different seconds, if you know what I mean. But that's to ensure there's a very, very accurate finish time when that team completes. And then here we have the number of clues, which, as I say, will knock a second, will add 1 minute to their time. And then we can export the session as a CSV file very, very easily if you would like to have access to that for your own articles or newsletters or anything like that within the team. But sorry, Daniel, that is the whole shebang. Apologies if I've bored you to tears.
Not at all. You've gone into a lot of detail, and I'm really grateful for that. I think can you give, based on what you've just said, without us talking about any extras, can you just give us a rough indication of what the price per head is, etc.? Obviously, we won't hold you to anything, but just to kind of give us an idea of price. Yeah.
So sort of the retail price for this, and obviously there's a little bit of a sliding scale depending on numbers and how many people you've got, but starting price is £200 for the host, of which you will need 1 per video call. So that's pretty much 1 for every 200, up to 200 people. If we do a 500 person event, we need to split that into 2. We'd obviously need a host per video call event effectively, but £200 for each host. We then charge £100 for the games masters, or per games master. You will have 1 games master for every 4 teams. With around 6 players per team, that's 1 games master for every 24 players. So again, if it was a 250 person event, you have about 10 games masters. Okay. And then we charge a flat £20 per person. And as I say, if numbers do get up in sort of increments of 50, then there is that's an incrementally decrease from that price per head. So if you get to 50 plus, it goes to £18 per head. 100 plus goes to £16 per head. Then 150 plus goes to £15 a head.
Right. And if let's say, for example, in an evening, if you wanted to, we've done the escape room, it's probably lasted about an hour and a half, let's say, that whole experience, and you wanted to add on your own entertainment from there, if let's say somebody wants to have a band or something, or how can you incorporate additional entertainment to to this as well.
Absolutely. And this is the beautiful thing about having a Zoom conference, is that you can do so many different things on that same call afterwards. So some of the things that we're already working on at the moment is a cocktail session.
Yeah.
So we're looking to work with 2 different suppliers, one that sends out pre-mixed cocktails to anyone who doesn't want to have to maybe go to the Royal Mail if they miss the box, so that it can fit through a letterbox. And then obviously the other supplier a bit more of a bigger box with the mixer and the shaker and all of the gubbins. So that's something we're working on. We actually did a bit of a taster session last night of the pre-mixed cocktails with the mixologist, and it was amazing. It was actually way better than we thought it was going to be, mainly because we got very drunk very quickly.
I was going to say, I thought you looked a bit delicate today, bless you.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. I'm glad this wasn't at 9 a.m, I'll put it that way.
So, with that in mind, so for example, if somebody's got, let's say they've already got a forthcoming online annual conference or something like that, how easy, let's say you wanted to do an activity as part of that conference and slot this in, is that easy enough to do as well?
Yeah. Oh, we've already been doing this. Yeah. Most recently we did about a 300-person event for GlaxoSmithKline, and they had a whole day. They had their own platform. I think it was like a Penguin or something like that had built them a bespoke, sort of conferencing platform where they were able to run seminars and lectures and presentations and things through this software, and to make it look as much like a normal conference as possible, because obviously their physical conference was cancelled. And we plugged straight in, and I think it was 1 o'clock. The link was posted for our MS Teams call, and they quite simply clicked it and came to the MS Teams link that we ran on our MS Teams, and then we ran it from there. I mean, the beautiful thing about this event is all you need to do is join the video platform. Yeah. Once you're on the video platform, we can manage the rest there and then. So it's really, really straightforward.
We've got Rogue Agent. What about, we were all thinking about, I think people are starting to think about Christmas at the moment. Yeah. What can you whip up for Christmas?
Well, we are already whipping up, Daniel. But we are working on 2 new games at the moment. One of which I think is more geared towards the Christmas party occasion. So we're working on a murder mystery virtual team building experience, which is going to be called Sherlock Holmes: The Grand Debut. Storyline is that you, the teams, are an 18-year-old Sherlock, and on his maiden investigation, he's an unknown right now. This is his first ever investigation, which is the murder of Lord Harrington in Chapelgate Manor. And so you need to move through the mansion, interacting with different characters, solving different puzzles to uncover the evidence and find out who done it. Should be really, really good. Bit sort of Sherlock Holmes meets Cluedo meets sort of Rogue Agent, I guess. But I think a bit more visually stunning is the idea. And so you'd play that game, and then that's going to be its own game that everyone can play. There'll be hosts. Who, the lead host would be the butler, things like that. Very, very sort of murder mystery, lots of twists in terms of the storyline and things like that. If you've, seen films like Knives Out or anything like that, storyline, a little bit like that, lots of twists. The idea is you want people to be really sort of guessing throughout the game. It could be this person. No, it's got to be this person. And the idea is then to have sort of add-ons to that, which one of the main ones we want is, as I say, this cocktail experience. And then sending out sort of costume bits. And I've got this vision of, playing the game and then afterwards just getting a bit silly. And so we've sent you some costume bits that align to the characters from the game. And then we do a cocktail session with some bespoke cocktails that we've had made for the game. So, for example, we're going to have a Lady Harrington and a Lord Harrington cocktail. And everything just gets a bit fun and silly, the sort of music. And yeah, I've just got this idea of, sending out costume bits and everyone just getting very silly, just dipping out of camera shot, putting on their little bits of costume and then coming back into shot, as a different character, I think that could work really, really well.
Okay, fab. And what was so that was that one. And then did you say there was another one you were working on as well?
And then the other one we're working on, probably a bit more aligned to the B2C market, the play at home guys. But this is going to be set in a research facility. A bit more sciencey, a bit more techy. I'm not as much involved with that one, so I'm working very closely on the Sherlock Holmes game at the moment. But yeah, that one is yeah, you effectively it's a bit sort of like, it's going to be a bit sort of like Crystal Maze, that one, in terms of you move from sort of section to section of the research facility, doing different puzzles as you move through different sections. And yeah, the storyline is that effectively you need to save the world from something that could happen at this research facility.
Okay,
Don't want to give too much away.
awesome. No, I mean, it sounds fantastic. And has anyone got any questions that they want to ask Alex at all? Anybody got any? Helen?
Hiya, yeah, I just wanted to know, you said what the maximum end is. What's the minimum end of participation?
Yeah, I mean, about 20. The minimum order value is £500, which if you work it out is around 16, 17 people. I mean, we could do an event for 10 people, but as I say, it would just be that the minimum order is still £500. But yeah, it works out around 20 people.
Okay.
If you want to do something smaller, we do have a virtual escape room in one of our venues, where we've turned one of our actual physical escape rooms into an online experience where you control a games master moving through the escape room, and you're controlling them and telling them what codes to put in the padlocks. You can have up to about 7 players playing that game. So for the smaller groups, that's usually what we would recommend.
And how is the escape rooms at the moment, Alex? Are those still open?
Yeah, so we reopened a couple of months ago in line with the government sort of reopening of the leisure sector. And yeah, I mean, you know, we're probably up to about maybe 75% capacity of what we were pre-lockdown, which is, if I'm honest, better than I thought we would be at this stage. But pretty much, and it varies from venue to venue. So we've got a venue in Stratford-upon-Avon, and that was actually performing pretty much the same as it was pre-lockdown, because of people going on staycations, people travelling to Stratford-upon-Avon for a day out and popping into our venue. Yeah. Whereas our Birmingham branch, which is our flagship store, where we have like the official Peaky Blinders rooms, they're about as busy as they were, but only for our B2C customers, for our families, friends, you know, couples, students. All of the corporates are cancelled. We haven't done a corporate team building event in venue since before lockdown. We haven't done a single one. And if we have, it would have been, you know, a very, very small team of you know, 3-4 people popping out from the office for, you know, an hour kind of thing, but not that I've heard of, you know.
No, because obviously from an organisational perspective, there are people that might choose to go with their family or within their bubble or things like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
If that's open and it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone has to wear masks. Again, that is the law. And as I say, they have to be in their social bubble. So yeah, like you say, it's a lot of date nights at the moment. We're getting lots of couples coming in, trying to escape, having a big old argument, and then going home. You know, I think we should.
Lockdown, isn't it? So.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good. It's good for them. They come in and they let it all out, and then they leave the room and they're happy as Larry. You know, it's a little bit like really.
Has anybody else got any questions before we go? No? Well, that's brilliant. What we'll do is I will send you a copy of this recording, so that if you need to circulate that to anyone within the organisation that might also be interested to learn more about Escape Live and what's going on there, then let me know. If any of you want any information at all, then please do get in touch and let us know, and we'll be happy to help you, and we'll update you as soon as Alex has got his new Sherlock Holmes package ready as well. All right.
Great stuff. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Daniel.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Bye.